Now, let's dive into the Musk-Trump feud that's going on south of the border in the United States. It all started on Tuesday, June 3rd. Many outlets have timelines of what has happened over the past few days. The one I was reading is from The Independent, and it shares how starting on that day on June 3rd, it was 1:31 p.m. Washington time, where Musk attacked the big, beautiful bill. And then it was a couple of days of chaos as Trump responded. Jeff, let's go through this timeline step by step for people who aren't familiar with what went on.
Yeah, so the feud really started on Thursday. And surprisingly, in this feud, Trump has actually posted considerably less than Musk from what I've seen. So not the person you'd usually expect to have more self-control, but there it is. But the seeds for this were really sown on Tuesday when, as you say, Musk posted about Trump's big, beautiful bill, saying that, I quote, "This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it." So that's a pretty heavy-handed start. But then it's really Thursday when everything starts to break loose here. So Musk shared years-old comments from Trump and from other people in government about U.S. spending. By noon, that gets around to Trump, who posts, or doesn't post, he was actually talking with reporters, I think, that he's very disappointed and that, quote, "Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore." And this is less than a week after they were both showering each other with compliments on Elon's supposed last day of working for government. So in response to this, Musk posted, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election, Dems would control the House, and Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate." And then he followed it by such ingratitude. Now, what do you think? Are these maybe two of the least grateful people you've ever seen in your life? So strange reaction there. And then 20 minutes later, Musk posts a couple hours later, Musk posts, "Is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle?" This got over 5 million votes, and 80% of people said yes. Now, again, I'm curious for your thoughts, Amber. Is Elon Musk the one to be identifying that we need a new political party that represents the 80% in the middle?
Well, here's the thing with a lot of what he posts, right? He has a massive army of people, millions and millions of people who follow him. They are such uber fans of his. So anything that he wants to do, they're going to agree with. This isn't a post of the average person, and in saying that, I'm sure there are lots of people in the US who think that, okay, we should have other options. I mean, everybody loves options. So it is kind of, I think, in line with some of the things that Elon Musk has always said, which is asking really obvious, basic questions. Like, people have tried to assign this crown to him of being kind of a genius or the king of tech or EVs. But the reality is, I think what we've seen over and over again is he is a very simplistic, a very cruel, and a very childish man. And that's kind of spelled out as you go through this very confusing and immature timeline.
Absolutely. And we can't forget that Musk donated, I think it was over $250 million. I think it's $274 million to Trump's campaign. So he knowing that and seeing how after this new political party post, 20 minutes later, Musk posted, "Trump has 3.5 years left as president, but I will be around for 40 plus years," which his alleged ketamine addiction may have something to say about whether he's going to be around in 40 years. But what a stance for somebody to take, where he's basically putting himself above the president and saying that he'll have more influence over time than any president will, by virtue of his extraordinary amount of money and, like you say, his kind of cult following. And this didn't sit well with Trump either. So Trump then got onto Truth Social, which, just so you know, at the end of Thursday, I believe Tesla shares were down 14.2% or something like that, which is a $152 billion loss. So that's crazy. But also Trump's Truth Social shares were down 8%. Trump's crypto, Trump crypto, whatever you call it, it was down 12%. So these are having real world effects. Anyway, so Trump responded with, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy. And then he delivers the big line. This is from Trump at 2:37 Eastern on Thursday. The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it, he says. This from a man that has called Biden a moron, basically. And he's surprised that Biden didn't do this smart thing that he didn't do, but he's now thinking about. And again, the childish tone in this conversation is just stunning, Amber.
It is absolutely stunning. I mean, the thing that I really don't understand is, why do all of these conversations have to happen in public? You know, we saw this with President Trump even when Zelensky came to the White House, right? This insistence on having media everywhere. We saw it when our own Prime Minister, Mark Carney, went to the White House. The media was everywhere, you know, surrounding them during these conversations. And I think one of the things when people want to live out their lives and do business and run countries in public like this, a lot of it, I think, is self-serving because they are such narcissists, right? They thrive on all of the drama and the attention. And, you know, I hate to say it, Jeff, and I think you saw some of these posts going around over the past few days, a lot of women who were fans of Kamala or even Hillary Clinton saying, oh yeah, girls are too emotional or women are too emotional to be able to take positions of power. I don't think that that's necessarily true, because these guys are fighting like they are children on a schoolyard playground in elementary school, maybe even in kindergarten.
Yeah, and there's lots of harm being done. Keep in mind, and we're leaving out tons of we're giving a rough overview of this. There are so many more posts, especially by Elon, who is definitely posting away for ages here. After Trump talked about how they could save billions and billions of dollars by terminating Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts, Elon responded, in light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, at SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. Now, this is the craft that is used to take NASA astronauts to and from the International Space Station. It's an absurd threat to make. Obviously, he didn't consult anyone at SpaceX. He's making these unilateral decisions out in public, like you're saying, that are so poorly thought out. And thankfully, this is one point that Musk did back down on. But I think it was about 5 hours later or so, I'm sure he got an earful from someone at SpaceX. But in response to somebody's tweet, he's like, oh yeah, you do have a good point. I should calm down. So we won't be decommissioning the Dragon spacecraft. And it's like, is this how your decisions are being made? It's, again, there's nobody I've seen in history that is more dedicated to damaging their own reputation than Elon Musk. Trump, I don't think, knows what he's doing. Elon is just out there. He's holding the chainsaw by the wrong end.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's and I know you have the timeline really written out here to give people a sense of what happened. But I think as we get to even 3 o'clock on that same day, this is when the really big bomb does take place, when at real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's what Elon Musk said, and says that is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. For our final point, Laura had a really good comment about all of this that we can wrap up this conversation with for now.
Absolutely. So our old colleague from Command N, Laura, who was born in Vermont, has American citizenship, but she's also Canadian, said, and I think this is a great way to look at it, it's going to be hard to pick up all the pieces in America when they're burning everything to ash. And
totally true.
I think just leave it at that, because, what are you going to do when you're doing this kind of damage to your own country, to your own government, to your own people, and at this point, to yourself?